Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Cham Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivacakataya Stotarasata Shrishimad Abed Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda Ki Jai Prem Seko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. All glories to His assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Bleibt ihr hier? Nein, wie ihr wollt. Aber ich will nur wissen, bleibt ihr da oder nicht? Okay, dann sprechen wir auf Deutsch. Okay. Gut. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Prabhu, you're intending to stay or you'll leave in a moment? Because I have to adjust the language for you. Like that. Chitra Mataji, kannst du beide Sprachen und kannst du sogar übersetzen? Denkst du? Ja. Prabhu, I can speak in English also. If you want. Yeah, I'm your servant. Okay, then we read in English after all. So we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, translated and explained by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And we're reading chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation. We are reading We're reading a few verses today because there are no purports, and we're starting with text 41. So the first verse is, that verse is on the board, if you don't see it on your phone. Brahmana kshatriya visham Sudranang ca parantapa Karmani pravibhaktani Svabhava prabhave gunai Brahmana kshatriya visham Sudranang ca parantapa Karmani pravibhaktani Sabhava prabhava gunai. You also want to lead? Karmani pravibhaktani Svabhava prabhava gunai. Mataji's? Brahmana kshatriya visham Okay, good. Okay, then we read the word translations of this verse at least. Brahmana, of the Brahmanas. Kshatriya, the Kshatriyas. Visham, and the Vaishyas. Shudranam, of the Shudras. Cha, and Parantapa, O subduer of the enemies. Karmani, the activities. Pravibhaktani, are divided. Svabhava, their own nature. Prabhavai, born of. Gunai, by the modes of material nature. Translation. Brahmanas, so Krishna is continuing his instructions to Arjuna about the three modes of nature, and here it translates into different kinds of people, we could say, who are distinguished according to the gunas. So Krishna is telling Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures, in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemy. So then we just continue to read. Geht gut bis jetzt, oder? Geht gut bis jetzt. Super. Sehr gut. Yeah. Okay. Then now text 42. Samodamas tapaso chang ksantir arjavam evata gyanam vigyanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Translation. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Text 43. Shoryang tejo dritir daksyang yudhe chapya palayanam danam ishvara bhavastha kshatrang kama svabhavajam. Translation. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Verse 44. Krishi goraksya vanijyang vaishya karma svabhavajam paricharyatmakam karma Shudrasyapi svabhavajam. Translation. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras there is labor and service to others. Text 45. Sve sve karmanya birata sangsidhing labate naraha svakarma nirata sidhing yata vindati tatsrino. Translation. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. Text 46. Yata pravritir bhutanang yena sarvam idang tatam svakarmana tamabhyartsya siddhing vindati manavaha. Translation. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. Purport. This is our purport. As stated in the 15th chapter, all living beings are fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Supreme Lord is the beginning of all living entities. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmad Yasya Yataha. The Supreme Lord is, therefore, the beginning of life of every living entity. And, as stated in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord, by his two energies, his external energy and internal energy, is all-pervading. Therefore, one should worship the Supreme Lord with his energies. Generally, the Vaishnava devotees worship the Supreme Lord with his internal energy. His external energy is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. The external energy is a background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portion as Paramatma, is situated everywhere. He is the supersoul of all demigods, all human beings, all animals, everywhere. One should therefore know that as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one has his duty to render service unto the Supreme. Everyone should be engaged in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. That is recommended in this verse. Everyone should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Rishi Kesha, that's the name of Krishna also, the master of the senses, and by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna should be worshipped. By the result of, I'll read it one more time. And by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna should be worshipped. If one thinks always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, then, by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. That is the perfection of life. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 12:7, Tesham ahang samudartha. The Supreme Lord himself takes charge of delivering such a devotee. Bin ich zu schnell? That is the highest perfection of life. In whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves the Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection. Om Agyanatimirandasya Ganandala Shalakaya Chaksuran Militangena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namong Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastatyade Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, I will read the translation of the last verse one more time. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. So, yes, first of all, we welcome all the humble sages who have come here to hear me speak. I beg for your blessings that I was reading in Prabhupada's biography recently. There was one of the first disciples, one lady. Her name was, or is, she still is there. Actually, she was here some months ago. Her name is Govinda Dasi. She joined Srila Prabhupada in 1967. So that was the second year of his actual preaching. And she was serving him personally for some time in she she it's written some of her memories which she told about her experience there. And one thing she said, that whenever Srila Prabhupada would speak about Krishna, one would feel that Krishna is there. So, and I was reading this and I was thinking that, yes, if I speak about Krishna, I would like to also have this result, that we feel like Krishna is actually there. Because that is the ultimate thing that we want, is it not? We want to be Krishna conscious. The whole society is for Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada also, he would emphasize this point many times in his lectures, and also public lectures. He would say that we are opening so many centers all over the world, and we are making propaganda work, we're distributing books, and we go in public in different ways, and we invite people to come to our places. And he said that you come to our place and you just sit down and hear hear about Krishna. And that is also based on the teachings of our scriptures and great teachers in our line, like Prahlad Maharaj, who is kindly blessing us here. Very specifically also, Prahlad Maharaj described very specifically what is devotional activities, what is devotional service. And it begins with Shravanam, hearing. So always the first step and the most fundamental step in God consciousness is hearing. So I was thinking that I beg your blessings that I can speak in such a way that we will feel that Krishna is there. And after we have heard and spoken, and then we leave this room, then our Krishna consciousness has increased for our practical purposes. So that is my request to you. You bless me. Like that. So, and maybe we can just stay with this topic also, that the previous verses, they were describing the different natures of different people, and the division which is made accordingly. There is brahmanas, kshatriyas, and I will just take a shortcut in that regard. First of all, there's no purports to those verses, and second of all, most of us are very familiar with the practice, with the philosophy, and also in temple life, we don't put our main emphasis on that. As soon as we go into the world and do many things, then with the world, then that becomes very important for our integrity. But in temple life, this it naturally moves into the background to some extent, because temple life is not temple life specifically is meant for serving the Lord as directly as possible. And that direct service is, is very menial service, especially when we serve the deity, we serve Lord Nrsingadev, then I heard that when Nrsingadev was installed here, there were some very qualified brahmanas from India. I don't know where exactly, maybe South India. I feel like the most, learned and ritualistically advanced brahmanas come from South India. Is it like that, or maybe not? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, but they came from Nrsingadev. He comes from South India. So, and the brahmanas, they came also from India. And it says that during the installation ceremony they were there, and it says that they were lighting the fires with mantra. So that's a very qualified brahmana. He just, by sound, he creates fire, and he lights the candle. But whether he uses a lighter or a mantra, he is lighting a candle. And the candle is used for the worship. So whether you're very qualified or very simple, it does not matter so much. The main thing is that you do your service to the Lord. And that is also the essence which is there in this verse, that by your activities, svakarmana tam abhyartya, you worship the Lord. Siddhing vindati manavaha. And by doing that, no matter who you are, how advanced, elevated, or how simple and crude you are, it doesn't matter. You will attain perfection if you just worship Krishna by your activities. And then if we are not so faithful, yet in this process we may say, why Krishna? Why God has to play a flute? Or God may also take the form of half man, half lion? Why like that? Why is so specific? And that is a very relevant question. And actually, even after we practice for some time, as we go deeper, we may consider those topics also very strongly at one point. I had one point in my, after 7 years of practice, for the first time I was really wondering, is this the right thing? Is this the right path? Why is it correct? And it was a, let's say, phase of weakness also. My sadhana was not so strong, and I had some confrontations from external circumstances also. So, and there was a lot of service, there was less sense gratification. So let's say sweet rice and halava were not enough to have me convinced. and I was doubting to some extent, like, is this really the best thing I can do with my life? And then I turned to Srimad Bhagavatam, and I found this one verse which gave me which gave that kind of food to my intellect to become peaceful. And so I had, that reminded me. And that verse is Kamasya Nendriya Pritir Labodhi Vetayavata. It says that life's desires, our desires, they should not be directed towards sense gratification. One should be satisfied with that which is actually needed, which means we don't neglect our senses, but we don't engage in senses unnecessarily, unrestrictedly. There's some regulation, there's some modesty, simplicity, and that's enough. You don't have to eat as much as possible, you don't have to hunting girls, hunting men. Hare Krishna. Welcome. And you don't have to go to the cinema every week. You don't have to whatever is there in this world. You don't have to try taking so many drugs. Whatever is there in the world, you can try to enjoy. But no, it's not meant for that. Keep things simple. And Jivasya Tadva Jigyasa Nato Yatseha Kamebihi. The only purpose of life is to ask questions about truth. Muss ich warten oder nicht? Okay. So the only purpose in life is to ask questions about truth. What is the truth? And then the Bhagavatam, in the very next verse, it will already, if you really want to know what is the truth, the next verse in Bhagavatam will tell you what is the truth. And the Vedas are a little like, how to say? Unless you open the book and read it, or unless you meet a person who has read the book and will tell you, the book is not like, how to say? The book is not like just in your face and here you have it, like a slap. But as soon as you are sincere and you open the book and you start reading it, it will tell you everything immediately. And that is very amazing actually. And then Bhagavatam is telling, Vadanti tat tatvavidas. Those who have seen truth, those who have realized already, those who have gone the path of self-realization and reached the end of it, they have realized the truth. And it is Vadanti tat tatvavidas tatvang yajnanam advayam Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabdati. And it's saying the last word in realizing the truth is realizing Bhagavan, God, as a person. And then you can look at what is Bhagavan. That is also described in the Vedas. What is the definition of Bhagavan? And that is also important. But then even more important is that who is Bhagavan? And then Bhagavatam, a few verses later again, it will say, Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is God. Krishna is Bhagavan. He's a cowherd boy. He plays a flute. And then in the Bhagavatam, that is the main topic, ultimately, that who is Krishna? And what is Krishna doing? What are his activities? We tend to speak about Nama, Krishna's name or names, Nama, Rupa, his form, his guna, his qualities, his character, and Lila, his activities. So, and Bhagavatam is giving that. And the Srimad, like here it's saying, Yatha pravritya bhutanam yena sarvamidang tatam. That is a very vague statement in terms of personality. Yatha pravritya bhutanam. From whom or from which everything comes. Or everyone comes. And then, so like the origin of everything. And then, yena sarvam idang tatam. And by which or by whom everything is pervaded. So everything comes from him and he is within everything as well. that is very... You cannot describe that with material logic. It is not. How is that? So you can try, but it's very. How deep can you penetrate that truth? So according to your realization, you can. But you cannot grasp that simply with material intellect. So at that point already, you're dumbfounded. But. But then here in the beginning of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya. That Vedanta Sutra is also a Vedic text, and it's saying that you should see what is the origin of everything. What is that? And then the Bhagavatam, it also starts with that verse. So if we are actually... And the thing is that here in the verse it's saying you should worship that source of everything by your activities. And so, but in order to properly worship the source of all activities, we should know the source of all activities. And and because we will act anyway. In this world, no one is free from acting. No spirit soul ultimately is free from doing activities. But we either... And so if we want to dedicate our activities to the source of everything, we should know this source of everything. And the Bhagavad Gita is giving that hint, that direction. Krishna ultimately he will tell Manmana, think of me. Bhavamag Bhakto, be my devotee. He will tell all that. So he will tell all that. But then, and then you have an intellectual outline. You have an intellectual clarity that, okay, this is what to be done. But it is so much easier to relate to a personality the more you know of that personality. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is specifically that literature which is given by our spiritual masters, actually in our own disciplic succession, Srila Vyasadeva. He has written the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm reading for the second time at the moment, and I'm just in the first canto, and I'm done with that description, how Vyasadeva, he had compiled the whole Vedic literatures. He had written everything. He had written the Vedanta Sutra, so any jnani, he's captured. He has written Mahabharata. Any ordinary person, he's captured. So karmis, jnanis, they're captured completely. And the four Vedas are there for the Brahmanas to study. So he has given all the Vedic knowledge, but he's not satisfied because he has not described Krishna exclusively. He has not written that text yet, which is only about devotional service, only about service to God. And then Narada Muni comes and he confirms his own doubt, his own thought that, yes, I have not done that. And Narada Muni is explaining in depth how you have to do that, because that is for ultimate benefit of people. And Narada Muni is telling that if you, let's say, even if you do so many, anyway, maybe we don't go that direction now. But the point is that this is the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is only about Krishna. It's only about Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is very funny because it's I was having a conversation with Brian recently, and we were considering about this. I was thinking that in that conversation, I was thinking about this point that the Bhagavad Gita, it is spoken by Krishna. So Krishna is speaking himself. So you could say that's the highest. But and he's speaking with his close friend Arjuna. So you could also say there's some rasa in there. But Krishna, Krishna, he is not speaking only about himself. He's speaking about other things also. He was speaking about the modes of nature. We were reading for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know, and they're like, only modes of nature, passion, goodness, ignorance, passion, goodness, again and again, in the doer and the action itself and knowledge and so many details. All the modes of nature, the modes of nature, the modes of nature. And also the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking about karma and karma yoga and yagya, and it's also indirect. And then once in a while he will speak one verse. In 2nd chapter, I like that verse a lot. Is how it starts? I forgot how it starts. Tani savani sangyamya. You control your senses. Tani sangyamya. Tani savani kamya. And I forgot how it goes. It's too late in the evening. But he's saying that that you have to control your senses and matparaha, and you have to focus on Krishna. And if you read the Bhagavad Gita attentively, that verse, it will give you like, what? What is that? Krishna is telling you have to worship him. It's like it looks a little out of context. He's speaking about yoga and intelligence, and suddenly that verse comes. That 2nd chapter, it's one verse about Krishna directly. And then 3rd chapter, again, it's like Mayi Sanyasya Matparaha. It's only one verse. It's 3rd chapter, I remember one verse. Is there a 2nd one? Anyway. Yeah, and then 4th chapter, also one verse, which I remember, but I cannot recall it precisely. And then 5th chapter at the end and 6th chapter at the end, Krishna will give one verse each, which is like, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like Bhaktarangeka Tapasang, and then Yoginam Api Sarvesham. But it's 6 chapters. And you can count the verses on your fingers. How many verses he's actually speaking about himself. And Bhagavad Gita, it begins with, we could say, somewhat, it's not worldly, but it looks like a worldly situation. There's a war, there's a fight, there's a calamity, and we have a problem here, and we have to fix the problem. And Krishna is asking his friend Arjuna how to fix the problem. Arjuna is asking Krishna, how to fix the problem? I'm confused, I don't know. What to do now? But in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very beginning, it starts with seeing God, serving God, realizing God. That's like the start of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's how it goes throughout. It goes like that throughout the Bhagavatam. It's all about seeing God, realizing God, serving God in purity. Like soon we will hear in Bhagavatam how Dhruva Maharaj, he will have darshan of Krishna in his expansion of Vishnu. So it's all about that. So the focus is in the Bhagavatam is different, and you will develop a more intimate relationship with Krishna through reading Srimad Bhagavatam than through reading the Bhagavad Gita. So, and the more we learn about Krishna, the more easy it becomes for us to dedicate our activities to him also. So, and that is a very dynamic principle also. If you just read all the time, but you never do devotional service, then it becomes one-sided. If you always do things, even here in the temple, you wash pots, you clean the floor, you even worship on the altar. But if you never hear about and read about Krishna and think about Krishna, then also it becomes one-sided. So there's a dynamic process between serving God and remembering and thinking about God, and hearing about God and learning something about Krishna. So, and that is our juice of life, to have a balance between those two things and always continue doing, and let that relationship become deeper and deeper. in that way. Okay, the first person has gone already. I want to stop here then. Hare Krishna. Maybe you'd like to add something. Ja, tut mir leid. Ich verstehe das. Ich habe auch nie Fragen, wenn ich übersetze. You would like to add something, Prabhu? You must have so much realization also. Okay. Mm. Mm. Yes. Yeah. Jai. Jai. Okay. You can continue talking, but I will officially stop you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.